12 News. This is breaking news.
I've been told that I would know when the time is right, and the time now is right for me. I've decided that it's time for me to officially retire from the superintendent role after more than 33 years in education. In the process of formally retiring, I'm submitting my resignation as superintendent of the Winston-Salem-Forsyth County Schools.
And we are following that breaking news out of Forsyth County. Winston-Salem-Forsyth County School Superintendent Dr. Don Phipps is retiring. WXII 12's Kelly Kendall is live at the Education Building in Winston-Salem with him right now. Kelly, what can you tell us?
Well, Kara, we learned just this morning after a Board of Education meeting closed session that Dr. Phipps is resigning from his position as Winston-Salem-Forsyth County Schools Superintendent and will be entering retirement. Now, Phipps had signed a 15-month contract with the district back in December and had started in the role then. I'm here with him now to talk a little bit more about this and where this leaves the district following its financial crisis. And Dr. Phipps, first, just talk a little bit about why you decided to make this decision.
This is a personal decision for me when I look at the care responsibilities that I have for an elderly mother and being able to weigh those responsibilities and then the professional piece. I felt like this was something that I needed to do in my personal life.
And Dr. Phipps, I just mentioned that you had signed a 15-month contract with the district. Why not go out that 15 months all the way through that contract? Because there were some who had questioned whether or not even that would be enough time.
Well, my mother's 88 years old, will be 89 in October, and those are critical times. The time now is critical. Every month, every week that I have, and the role is not going to diminish, and the responsibilities that I feel like I need to play in her life, and then other family responsibilities aren't going to diminish. And this, as I said, is a personal decision based on where I'm at in life right now. I do feel like we've accomplished a lot. There's still a great deal to be done, but with a budget that's balanced and our debt totally taken care of, and now a fund balance and the things that we've accomplished, I felt like this was an opportunity to be able to step away and do those personal things and allow someone else to come in and continue this great work. A great group of individuals professionally here for someone to be a part of, and wonderful things will continue.
The pressures of caring for an elderly parent is something a lot of folks in the community can relate to. But when people think about their children's education and the difficulty this school district has been through, one of the things that was cited in the state auditor's report and the district's response to how it got to that financial crisis was turnover in leadership. Where do you think this leaves the district in terms of yet another leadership change moving forward?
Well, we also have change that's going to happen with the new school board that will be elected. And the interim who comes in will provide stability, and ultimately there'll be a long-term, permanent, I hope very successful superintendent who will come in and be able to do great things as well. The superintendent is a position, it's an important position, but there are many other positions in the school system that do great work, and that great work will continue whether I'm here or not.
Well, and talk a little bit about the ongoing search for a interim, well, we have an interim CFO, but there is the search for a CFO too. So now there will be just interim positions at the very top over this new budget that has just gotten out of the woods in terms of its finances. Where does that leave the district? Well,
the budget was created and it's balanced, and as you know, we're doing monthly reports for our board to keep up to date on budget to actuals, and those things will happen as they should and continue. Standard operating procedures that need to be in place are there, and those pieces will continue. It should never be dependent on an individual. If an individual leaves and the system crashes, that's a real problem, and that's not the situation here. Our system will carry on and be successful regardless of who's in a title or a position.
Has the district's processes been strengthened to a point where it can't crash?
I certainly hope the things that we have in place now will keep the situation from ever happening again that we encountered. Will there be bumps along the road? There are in every district and every business. You have to deal with those kinds of things. And I think what we do is learn from that and learn from others as well, and try to make sure that we don't repeat those and that we put ourselves in as much of a positive experience to safeguard against those types of things happening. We want to be as proactive in every situation as we can and not find ourselves in a reactionary mode.
And your last day will be September 30th. Between now and September 30th, what are the pieces that you want to make sure are all tied up before you leave, whether that be financial or anything else in the district?
It's working on the financial piece and making sure that we're on target with where we need to be. I think a big part for us, a heavy lift, is going to be market share consideration and what do we do in terms of public relations and things that public schools generally don't invest a great deal of time because we've not had to. But the market has changed and we have to do that. So some introspection about who we are and what we do. The implementation of the strategic plan piece is very important. And then just doing the day-to-day work to make sure that our teachers and administrators and support staff have what they need so that the interruptions and the disruptions are taken away and they can educate our children.
And Dr. Phipps, thank you for your time. Final thing, this announcement is coming a few days before school, and there are a lot of teachers, parents, students who it's just been news after news, things that have been disruptive for this district. What is your message to them, and how should they feel going into that first day of school?
Yeah, timing is difficult. I think with any situation like that, to look at the calendar and say this would be the best time. I hope that this will get out. There'll be a news cycle, and then we can focus on our teachers and students next week like we should, and then moving forward the great things that they're doing. There's going to be a lot that comes from us in August and September of student and teacher performance from last year, and that's where the focus needs to be.
Dr. Phipps, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it this afternoon, and we are going to have more on this developing story throughout our newscast. We'll have more coverage for you in just a few moments, but for now, live in Winston-Salem at the Education Building, I'm Kelly Kendall for WXII 12 News.
Kelly, thank you so much. Now, the same month Dr. Phipps took on the role as the superintendent, he actually sat down for a one-on-one with Kelly, discussing some of the challenges the district faced and what he hoped to accomplish. Here's what he had to say.
Is 15 months going to be enough to make meaningful change here?
I wouldn't be here if I didn't feel that way. And can I say that the job will be completely done? I don't know what the rate of change and the rate of implementation will be. Part of that's going to be key hiring that we have to have in these positions, but I certainly hope that when my time comes, we can look back and feel like we're in a better place. And not a result necessarily of me, but a result of we and the things that we're doing as a team.
Our team will continue to follow this story and the search for the next superintendent of Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. WXII 12's Kelly Kendall will have live reports today, starting at 4. You can find this coverage anytime on our website, on our app, as well as on our YouTube channel.